Absolutely, guys, and thank you very much. Fantastic job on the broadcast, but it really was about Reginald in the mid lane. We've said it all weekend long, and TSM is known to play like this, and that if Reggie is kind of put out of the game, then so is Team Solo Mid. But we saw the exact opposite from the get-go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to start by talking about picks and bans in this game, which I think went very well for TSM. In this case, we have the Zed, Thresh, Caitlyn, Vi, Vlad comp. And when you see the Spectral Wraith coming out on Vlad, you know that's going to be a split-pushing Vlad. And with the composition as well, you know Thresh, Caitlyn, Vi are going to be forming a turret-pushing core, while Zed roams or split-pushes and Vlad split-pushes as well. So I first started getting worried when I wasn't sure whether Tabs was going to be able to solo split-push on Vayne. And also the Lulu pick. Good in lane, but not optimal for split-pushing. And if you're trying to counter the turret pressure from Caitlyn with Ahri, Lulu, Elise, when you need Shen and Vayne to split push, you're going to be sacrificing a lot of towers.
I don't necessarily agree that Lulu's that bad against a split push. I just think they picked Vayne maybe to stop the split push, but it's such a horrible matchup against Caitlyn. It's really, really poor. You saw it as well. Every time they went in, like, they gave us a special Thresh, and he plays so well with it, because every time Vayne doubled in, he went into the box. Even if he gets a Shen ulti, they couldn't close that gap. Their composition pretty much centered our double protection on the two heavy carries, being Lulu and Shen Shield being able to protect Zed from blowing them up, but they weren't even playing teamfight Zed. They were playing split push Zed. I think Lemondogs dropped the ball on that, and even with the composition, they could have played better, but it just didn't work.
At the same time, though, I feel like Tabs did surprisingly well in a counter matchup. Caitlyn is supposed to crush Vayne. I feel like going even in that lane, doing like normal, would be going like 20 to 25 CS down. Tabs never fell more than like 10 CS down from Wild Turtle.
Until they started fighting.
Yeah, and then they started fighting and things went downhill. But I feel like Tabs pulled his weight. I think the team calling, or the play calling that game for lane rotations was a little bit off because they never used Vayne to her full extent. You don't put Vayne against Caitlyn because she can't split push against Caitlyn. You can put her against like a Zed, or you can put her against a Vlad, and she'll actually be able to put pressure on the map. And another thing was just the fact that TSM's team comp had no hard CC. They had Thresh, Caitlyn, Vi, Zed, and Vlad. That's not a team-fighting team comp. No. That's a splitting team comp, right? So you don't want to lose laning phase. You want to play passive in laning phase as Lemondogs and just force them to 5v5 you because you'll out-5v5 them.
And that's just not what they were. That was a classic TSM snowball in a sense where they got a small lead and just started running away with it. And like retroactively, we can go back and talk about all the things Lemondogs did wrong in their team comp, and it seems right because they lost. But I mean, TSM's team comp wasn't that great either. It's just they executed it in the way, like one of the only ways it could work. Reggie Zed, he's the only one who's been allowed to play Zed. And because he got so many Vi ganks that Nuke Duck was effectively walking into, it just snowballed them out.
It felt like a little lack of respect for the Zed pick, and especially like the way Vi ganked that over and over, it felt like, yeah, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on you.
Yeah, and then like 5 times.
Exactly.
I would say that the team comp wasn't multi-dimensional, but it was extremely good at what it was supposed to do, which is split push and create picks. But it is easily readable. But Lemondogs just didn't pick up on it. TSM executed it very well.
The only answer early game would have been putting the lanes 2v1. And I think we saw that in an indication that Shen actually got first blood, which was a good pick-off by them, based by Claw Farmer. Found himself in a Vladimir lane and didn't counter swap. They should have sacrificed the CS there. Like sometimes it's really poor to swap at late minute or last second. Like we saw the early game when they put the 2v2 matchups and they got wrecked. But this game, I think it was still the best choice to counter swap because Vladimir post 5 is gonna do really mean things to Shen.
Yeah, Darius dominated 0-0 in that matchup. It was just it was another runaway, and I think that could have also been remedied a little bit if we had seen the lane swap, even from that regard, because they just. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it made that first blood totally meaningless, effectively.
So with you guys kind of in agreement and disagreement that TSM's team was one they play a lot or the team that they want to snowball with, let's look a little to the future before we hit the standings here. Will a composition like that work against SKT in the final match of the day with them?
If you can outplay them in 1v1 situations, then yes, it will.
I mean, TSM played really well. I mean, we were analyzing like mistakes from one team and good plays on the other.
Yeah.
We can't really take it away. They played really, really well. I don't think teams will give Reginald Zed because he was really efficient on Zed and his other games weren't as performed as well. We don't know if that's the confidence he got like from this game will transition into other champions or not.
Right.
But I don't think we'll see Zed again.
I definitely feel like a team comp like that, if you don't get really far ahead in the early game in laning phase, it's not going to be effective as the game goes on. It doesn't scale well because you have no hard CC, and your 5v5 is actually really weak. If Reggie does manage to go 5-0 against Faker, then yeah, of course they're going to win with a comp like that. But I don't think Faker would give Reginald Zed and not be able to play against it well.
And this was one of those TSM games where they just seemed to have everything go right for them. They had a couple of them against Vulcan in the North American regionals, and then they clearly did not have them against Cloud9. Things sometimes really just work for them, and whenever Reggie starts the game with a couple of those kills, you tend to get these things. I don't expect people to be giving him Zed anymore. He's been the only one that's been allowed to play
That's true.
because he honestly didn't play very well on Zed previously, so people kind of just were disrespecting him in that way by giving him Zed.
Everybody has bad plays. Like if you give a player, for example, that plays a lot of Sona that sometimes misses some crescendos, who we're talking about, I don't know. He can still be really efficient on Sona the next game. Like same with Reggie, he has that clip on the internet where it's like, oh my god, Reggie played so bad. But if you watch this game, he really had an impact. He controlled his lane. He let Nuke Dog push him in the tower. He's like, yeah, come push me. And then Vi shows up, kills him. Reggie starts roaming. It's just, you gotta respect the champion.
Yeah, and I don't want to take anything away from TSM. They played really well. I feel like we're really just like talking about how Lemondogs messed up. TSM played really well. It's just that I feel like that comp is very one-dimensional. Yeah, exactly. Like if you don't get really far ahead in the first 10 minutes of the game, you cannot contest dragons. You cannot contest. You're not going to be able to like even defend against the siege unless Caitlyn is in that lane. So.
All right.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. With that, we will take a look at the standings and keep those ideas in our minds for the last game of the day. So after Team Solo Mid's win, they are now tied with SKT for second place, which adds even more excitement to the matchup later today. Lemondogs, on the other hand, find themselves near the bottom of the standings at the halfway point of the group. And now that we've seen how the teams are stacked up, let's take